Well, a very good day to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Kenya's most comprehensive political and public governance analysis show here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. It's a pleasure to always have you on board. Well, of course, I'm talking about the Candid Talk with yours truly, Evans Okinyi. Well, this fine afternoon, I'm joined by Wakili Willis Otieno. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you so much for making time for us. And of course, we'd like to discuss things that actually affect the country. And our fans are here. They're saying, our audience are saying that they're always glad that you're here and able to articulate issues as they are without any fear or favor. And somebody was actually wondering through the comment section, was like, what's really pushing you? What's making you be that vocal?
You know, the most important thing is that this country belongs to us.
Okay.
And it is important that all of us put our voices in the governance space of the country. And we must call out Kenya Kwanza for its failures and provide alternative leadership to this country. The Kenyan people deserve better. And what they're being served is not even a quarter of what they deserve. And it is important that Kenyans engage on these platforms so they're able to see that it is not our destiny to be led by the mediocrity that we are being taken through today.
Well, there you have it in case you're questioning where Wakili here derives the kind of strength with which he speaks. Then there it actually said it. Wakili, I want us to have this conversation around the economy and what is actually taking place here. Of course, this is one of the serious matters that we need to handle as a nation. The president, while talking, recently said that he's taken very serious but painful measures to ensure that the country is back on the right trajectory economically. I wonder whether you also buy from the same idea of the president when he says that at least we are on the right trajectory.
What is the right trajectory? If you use the basic that is going on now. When the doctors go to meet with them for a conversation on implementing their CBA, not for a salary increment, on implementing a commitment signed by government. What the government side is saying is that our economy cannot afford it. Okay. The same economy signed the CBA with government, and the same economy has been affording the commitment as CBA. They've been paying what they signed for. So when the doctors go, the economy is not performing. But when you're out on the public platform, the economy is performing. I mean, you have to choose a struggle. You can't have it both ways. You cannot have your cake and eat it. Either the economy is stable as you put it, and then meet your commitments. Or the economy is not performing. And stop telling us that you've made painful decisions that have stabilized the economy. There is no stable economy here. Ask any Kenyan on the street. Today is more painful than yesterday, and tomorrow will be more painful than today. That is a guarantee with Kenya Kwanza. So they cannot gaslight the people by trying to speak, because they think when you speak these things, it becomes the truth. You can be entitled to your facts. You can be entitled to your opinion, but facts are stubborn. The fact of a stable economy is in the quality of life that the people of Kenya are living. And as it is today, we have more angry Kenyans than we had last year. We have more sick Kenyans today than we had last year. We had more Kenyans out of employment today than we had last year. So what is this stable economy? Maybe the economy is only stable and is working for a select few. Those who are occupying those big offices and wearing Gucci shoes and Balenciaga at the expense of the rest of Kenyans. Yes.
Yes, so somebody would wonder, what problem do you have with the leaders wearing Balenciaga and all these expensive
Because that is just an expression of the largesse and the extravagance with which they are living. You know, when you are serving in a certain position, you are holding that position in trust for the benefit of the people. And remember, the money that you are superintending over, it belongs to the people. So why should you be living a luxurious lifestyle, showing a very extremely luxurious style of living when the people on whose benefit you're supposed to be serving are living a life of penury? The people are suffering, the people are sick, people are hungry, the youth are unemployed, and yet you are buying watches worth 29 million Kenya shillings. You are wearing clothes that are a belt that is worth 5 million Kenya shillings. That to me is the problem. Because this money that you are spending, because we know how much you earn, we know your salaries. All these ministers, we know how much they earn. We know what business they do. None of them has a business or earns a salary that can afford a watch that is worth 10 million Kenya shillings. and still continue living. They cannot afford it, their own salaries. So it simply means somebody must be dipping in public coffers to maintain this extravagant lifestyle. And Kenyan people deserve better.
Okay.
We must call them out. If you want to wear Balenciaga on your private money, that's okay. Nobody will stop you from doing that. Our problem is when you start that extravagant lifestyle on public money. That is where the problem is, that you should not be showing extravagance when the people you're supposed to serve are actually suffering.
Okay.
That is what we say not.
Now, make me understand this, Wakili. I've had these conversations with you, and you've been part of the family way back since last year when we were here with you talking, and things were actually bad in the country. The price of unga was up, the price of fuel and other different basic commodities were unaffordable to a number of Kenyans. That situation has somehow changed, because right now, as you can tell and as you can see and walk around, is that the prices of unga are not the same as they were last year. The prices of fuel as well have actually dropped in the recent past. These are some of the things that the president was actually alluding to. Why would you disagree with him?
You know, one thing, the greatest mistake we make is that we have reduced ourselves, that we are discussing the state of the economy based on subsistence, based on food stuff. You don't measure an economy based on the food in somebody's belly. So that the stableness of an economy cannot be measured based on that because we ate ugali today. Now the economy is stable. I mean, that's subsistence living. And there are many factors that can contribute to the price of maize falling, not government intervention. One of them is that we've just come out of a harvest, and the government did not make the rain. The government did not do anything. If anything, they gave people fertilizers, which are fake and substandard. So they cannot claim credit that because there was a harvest, now the economy is stable because there's food on the table. Because we had a good harvest of maize. So maize is available, the market is flooded, so people are able to get their ugali at a cheaper price. But you cannot discuss an economic stability by using just the price of unga or cooking oil. You are so basic. In some countries that are functioning, no one even discusses food because it is taken as a right that everybody will eat at the end of the day. Everybody has access to food stuff. You discuss the economy based on per capita growth. What is the quality of life that people are living in this country? All of us in this country, we are barely one disease away from poverty. What's the quality of healthcare services that you are able to access? If you are talking about a stable economy, you look at the job rates. How many Kenyans are employed? How many are unemployed? You are talking of a poverty rate of 70% of Kenyans living below the poverty line. You are talking of more than 80% of graduates are not able to get jobs that are commensurate with their qualifications. The state of unemployment in this country is something that should make your heart to shudder. That is what the government should be talking about. How many jobs have you created in the last 3 months or 6 months? That's what you should be telling us, that we've created 1 million new jobs, and of those new jobs that we've created, 60% of them are jobs that people are able to earn more than 100,000 Kenya shillings per month. Then you start seeing an economy growing, because then now it starts boosting productivity. But if it's just a question of people eating ugali, there's unga, the price of unga has dropped, now they have food in their belly. Life is not just about eating. We don't live to eat. We live to serve a higher calling. And that is what we should be focusing on. Let's see the jobs trends. That's what they should be looking at. Let's look at the growth in the GDP and its impact on the people, the quality of life they are living. That is what we should be discussing, not that there was a harvest. So when tomorrow the rains will subside and there will be no bumper harvest of maize, what will you say? You'll say then the economy is not stable because there's no food now. I mean, that is not something as a country we should be discussing. Those are basics. That is so basic, and not all Kenyans even eat ugali to begin with. But Kenya Kwanza has reduced Kenyans to a point where we want to measure the economic growth using the price of unga. It cannot be that. And Kenyans must resist that invitation and that temptation to determine if an economy is stable based on the price of unga ugali. That is something that we must resist. We are better than that, and we can do much better. What are they doing in the ICT sector? What innovations have we come up with? What are we doing in the manufacturing sector? Which new industries are we opening up? What are we doing in the entire agricultural value chain? Or are you saying that today, because you have a harvest, you can eat until you throw the surplus? Then tomorrow, when there is no rain, there are no rains, you don't have food, you didn't even work on the post-harvest procedures, how to store, do value addition, the product. How do you get this product beyond just people eating it to the international market? Okay. What are you able to sell to earn forex? Because all these things come back to haunt you at some point down the line if you don't pay attention. Okay. And that is why we are saying the prism with which Kenya Kwanza seems to be running this country is the wrong prism. It's a prism of failure. And we must say these are failures.
Okay. Now, make me understand this. I think when you witnessed, or rather when you listen to the president speak, definitely one of the most painful decisions that I believe he actually decided to make was the acceptance of the advancement of the new Eurobond. That is that particular loan. A number of people are also alluding to the fact, because up to now we are still not able to understand how the exchange rate, especially when the dollar and the shilling, is a little bit down compared to a few months back. People do believe that it has something to do with this new loan advancement and all that, because I've listened to certain experts trying to explain that. Now, if at all this was true, how painful do you think that Kenyans will actually feel the impact of the new Eurobond that was borrowed? And is this long term? Are we going to witness some sort of an economic improvement as a country?
Let me put it this way. On 15th of March, before the reissue of the Eurobond was done, the president himself went out to say, shida yangu kubwa is that out of every 10 shillings, I am spending 7 shillings on debt finance.
Yes, to finance debt, that is.
At the time, the interest rate on the Eurobond was 6%, 5 point something, let's say 6%. That was the interest rate payable at the time. They went back into the international market to take a reissue of the Eurobond at an interest rate of almost 10.35%. Now, if at an interest rate of 6%, it was a big problem. You actually said it yourself, that I'm spending so much money in debt finance because of this interest rate, which was 6% at the time. Then same person goes to the market, and then now you're taking it at a higher interest rate, between 9.5 to 10.35%. Your interest rate has gone up from 6 to 10. If your problem, you're paying at 7 shillings out of every 10 shillings, when the rate was 6%. Now the rate is 10%. Obviously, the debt finance will move from 7 to 8. Has your problem increased or reduced? Your problem has actually increased. So what magic is this that you're going to say will ease the economy? You've simply increased the amount of money that you're going to be paying as interest rate on that Eurobond from 6 to 10. So your problem has compounded. You will not resolve the problem. If you had told me that they took a Eurobond, the reissue, at 4% or 3% interest rate, then I will say it has come from 6 to 3. So the interest rates will go down. Maybe we'll get a breather. In this particular instance, the interest rate has gone up. So the repayments have also gone up. So wait for the repayment period to start. Then you will see the pressure on the currency. The pressure will be there. We have another bullet payment, I think, coming up in June, July. You'll see how the trajectory will take.
Okay.
Because the moment you are borrowing in the international market at higher interest rates, you are putting too much pressure on your local currency. And you're not producing enough locally that you're able to sell in the international market to earn forex. So your shilling will continue losing value. You should have focused on a production agenda. Produce more. Increase the value of your products, value add. Then you send to the national market, earn forex. So that you're able to meet your obligations using forex. It strengthens your shilling. Okay. But we do not have any production taking place here. Government is tinkering. Look at what, for example, does government do to boost the economy? It carries out development activities. As per the controller of budget, out of a development budget of 800 billion passed last year, as at end of January, they had only spent 50-something billion. As at end of March, I think they had only spent 100 billion. You only have 2 more months remaining. Are they going to spend this 600 billion? Because the government is not doing development. What is government doing? Because it's when they are doing a project, when government is doing our development, that is when you start seeing the economy getting boosted. Because you are seeing now circulation of money increasing. Now, if there's no development, this government is doing. Tell me which is their flagship project that you can say this government has rolled out.
Okay.
Which development activities are they doing? There's none. And people ask themselves, why do we seem to be in a state of economic influx? That the economy is not growing? Because they're not doing anything. If it was private sector driven, which private sector has money to boost economic growth? There's none. People in the manufacturing sector, the word we hear from them is they're closing every day. They are cutting down on their costs, reducing their workers, job cuts at the end of the day. So, which sector is this that you're saying? What sector is going to boost economic activity here? That is where they have failed. Government is not doing it. The private sector is not doing it. So we are in an imbroglio. The economy is just tinkering. There is no growth trajectory. You cannot see any driver of economic growth from either government or private sector. And that is what is causing this economic malaise we're going through. And people are now being reduced to subsistence existence. Where now all we care about is that I ate ugali today. Tomorrow is another day. The next day is another day. Just trying to find something to eat. That is the basic level of economic development when you are reduced to just talking about food in your stomach.
No, definitely you put it here right. And of course, it's true that our exports are not actually high because we produce quite little, but then we borrow more. And then looking at if this is the kind of solution that the government is trying to bring to the kind of problems that we are having, then questions would actually abound on how sustainable will this be? How long will it take us actually to realize some sort of a positive growth as a country?
Because for me, the outlook is not impressive. It's not enticing. Because if you don't have any driver of economic growth, then it's simple, and you are making economic decisions that are exposing your economy. You are borrowing at high interest rates. Because when you borrow these monies, one thing we must not run away from, you will pay them back. You will pay interest. Some of these debts are taken in Forex, US dollars. You will pay it in dollars. We don't print dollars. You only earn dollars through trade. You are not trading enough to earn enough dollars or more dollars. So it means you are coming to a local currency to mop up the shillings, convert it to buy dollars. The balance of trade is not in your advantage internationally. Your shilling will get weak, number one. Number two, you will reach to a point where you are not able to meet your debt obligations. Because even in the domestic market, you are borrowing at a higher interest rate. You've crowded everybody out of domestic borrowing. It's only government that is able to afford those crazy rates of 16% plus. So, and the same government is not doing anything productive, it's not doing any production. They are not running any economic activity that can boost production. So you are borrowing right, left, and center to eat, not to produce. But you'll come back to the same population and ask them to dip into their pockets to give you more tax, levies, and charges. Wait for the finance bill. It's coming in a month's time. You'll see again the increase in taxes, levies, and charges that will come up with that bill. Because they need money. There's no production taking place. So how much you're going to earn is reduced. So what do? You must go back to the people, raid their pockets, ask them to give you more money from their pockets. But if you had a productive activity going on, that activity will be earning you money. because you'll be levying taxes on it. If you are selling in the international market, you'll be earning extra forex on it. But you're not.
Okay.
That is why they keep coming to raid our pockets. And Kenyans must be very clear about this thing. For as long as Kenya Kwanza is there, and they're not pursuing a production agenda, they'll keep coming back to our pockets to raid it. You'll see more aggression when it comes to collecting taxes, charges, and levies. It will be more aggressive. Because they have no other place they can earn money. They must come back to the sovereign and raid the sovereign's pockets. Is what they're doing. And it is important Kenyans understand this. If we had a booming economy and we could see production taking place, they will be earning the money out there in that activity. But there's none taking place. That's why they keep coming to you and I. That's why your pocket is the only place they can go to. You want to get a government service, they increase the markup. If you want to, you are in taxable bracket, they increase your tax. Add a shilling here, add 10 shillings there. That becomes now the template of governance. But even the money they collect, it's not like they're using it to produce anything. It is being used to sustain recurrent expenditure. It's being eaten. So, because you're eating it, the need for it will be there again tomorrow. The hunger will be there again tomorrow. So you must come back to collect more to satisfy the hunger. But if it was an activity that was producing, of course the activity will be growing itself, so you'll be having a safe haven where to collect the money from. So the appetite to come into people's pockets will not be there. Now they are left to always keep coming. They will keep coming to raid the people's pockets. They will not stop.
The president is saying that as a good father, you should actually work towards ensuring that you leave your sons and daughters not debt, but then something that upon which they can actually depend. But here we are. How true are his assertions? Because here you are saying that taking in more debts and accruing these, yet the government, the president is also saying that we can no longer sustain this kind of debt. So all these things are not just adding up because people are confused. What is it? Because you're saying here that we cannot leave debt to the next generation. We have to make sure that we leave them some sort of inheritance, so to say. But then at the same time, we are seeing the government taking these loans left, right, and center. Where do we draw the line between what is actually true and what is supposed to be?
You see, that is now what I call political talk. Because look at this government borrowing. The last 3 governments we had, within the first 2 years of existence, Kenya Kwanza has borrowed the most in their first year than Kibaki did, than Uhuru did. They borrowed the most. They've borrowed at the most expensive rates than those previous governments. Uhuru's Eurobond was at 6%. Their Eurobond issue is at 10.35%. So, what they say and what they do are different. Don't believe what they say. Judge them based on what they're doing. If you've borrowed more than 1.5 trillion shillings in the national market in the last 1 year, you've borrowed more than 1 trillion in the domestic market in more than the last 1 year. That is your conduct. That is who you are. You're borrowing outside the budget. So you're actually exacerbating the pain. So when you tell us you're not going to leave a debt to the future generations, but we are seeing you borrowing every day, so who will pay? And we know the ability of the Kenyan people to pay those debts. They don't have it. I've just told you, right now, out of every 100 shillings they collect, 80 shillings goes to debt finance. And it's not enough. They'll still keep borrowing every day to run the government. And they're borrowing for recurrent expenditure, not development expenditure, as provided in our laws. So you've been caught up in what is called a sack of debt. You're in a debt trap. That you must always go back to the market to borrow for you to live. Whatever you are collecting from your people is not enough to sustain your operations. So you keep borrowing. And the market has seen you to be an addict. So the market also is seeing you as a very high risk individual. So the markup in terms of interest rate keeps going up. Every time you appear in the market, they put an extra 1 or 2% on your interest rate. Because you're high risk. That is Kenya Kwanza, they're high risk. So the market is fleecing them. And because they must get the debt, they are forced to take it.
Okay.
They go borrowing, and they even take beyond the subscription what they wanted. Oversubscribe, they take everything. When they go to the domestic market, they want to borrow 200 billion. Subscribed at 300 billion. Why are they taking everything? It's an addict. They're addicted to debt now. They can't live without it. And they're borrowing without planning.
Okay.
They are borrowing outside the budget. That is the truth of the matter. So forget about they are going to live a debt-free. They are not living debt-free. In fact, they are mired in debt. And the next generation of Kenyans who will take over from them will inherit a system that is heavily indebted, that I shudder to think of the mess we are going to inherit when we take over government.
There's certain people who would actually argue and say that maybe the president is sincere, but then he's succumbing to external pressure from these international monetary bodies and so on and so forth. Do you buy that kind of idea?
No.
That it's the president succumbing to this pressure?
No. Nobody forces you to borrow. You're the one who goes to ask for it. No one has forced anybody to borrow. You know, we should stop scapegoating the international players. They have their interests. They're looking out for their interests. We have our interests. We should be looking out for our interests. So if you want to say that he's succumbing, then he has surrendered our interest. He is pursuing their interest. Because if it was in our interest, why should he succumb? Why can't he tell the people of Kenya that I'm being forced to borrow? He has never done that. In fact, what he tells the people of Kenya is that we will not borrow. We will live within our means. But then the next day you see a bond issued, government is borrowing. You see news, government, World Bank is doing this, giving us this, advancing this loan. So what he tells us in public and what he does in private in the offices are different. And no one has put a gun on anybody's head to take a loan. In fact, on these Eurobonds, if you look, there was a World Bank warning last week to African countries. And they specifically mentioned Kenya, that African countries need to be wary of the sovereign bonds and the high interest rates. They are now tinkering on debt distress. And Kenya was specifically mentioned to have taken that bond at 9.5%, the reissue of the Eurobond. So even if the World Bank itself is telling you what you are doing in the market is exposing your economy, and they are saying these are wake-up call. You are going to the sovereign bonds market, you are taking loans at high interest rates, your economies may not be able to sustain. That is the World Bank that has said that, not me. And it's what I've been saying here over and over. Stop taking these sovereign bonds, which are commercially driven, and those people want to make profits. You're exposing this country to a high potential debt distress. The World Bank has corroborated what I've been saying. And if you're not careful, it will come to pass that this government will be forced into a debt distress because of this appetite for expensive loans. Quick loans, but the rates are very expensive. It will expose their underbelly, and the people of Kenya will bear the consequences.
Here we are. It seems that somehow these loans do artificially help in managing the exchange rates and so on and so forth. And if at all that is anything to go by, then somebody would say maybe that would be responsible for the reduction in prices of goods that we've witnessed here in the country. At least that pressure in the country and that kind of anger among the people, anger and hunger for that matter, is a little bit low. Would you then say that if you were in the president's shoe, how then do you manage between managing what people actually feel on the ground here vis-a-vis making decisions that would actually take the country in the right direction economically?
The big difference is that you must make economic decisions that are going to alleviate the pain of your people. And taking these sovereign bonds, I don't see how it alleviates the pain. If anything.
But he's saying for him, it's these painful decisions that are now...
No. If you are taking a loan at 9.5, 10.35% interest rate, how have you reduced the pain?
Okay.
Yeah. Before it was 6%, now it is 10%. Have you reduced or increased the pain? You've increased the pain. Because the people will come and end up meeting this debt in their everyday lives, in one way or another. So you've just been increasing the pain. And as I said, stop measuring government based on the price of unga ugali. when you go that route, then it becomes very basic. If it was just a question of unga ugali, Kenyans will be very happy on the streets today. Walk on the streets. Kenyans are angrier today than they were yesterday. Yeah. But yet we have ugali. It rained. They have food. But why are they still angry? Because I'm telling you. Because the fundamentals of the economy are wrong. The fundamentals and the decisions they've made are pointing Kenyans to more pain. Beyond just that, the ugali.
Okay.
So you have people who are angry and angry at the same time because of the economic decisions. There is nothing, and even the economic outlook for Kenya is not looking very great. It's actually very dim, grim and dim.
Okay.
You are seeing pain coming. And Kenya Kwanza, what they've been doing is just kicking the can. And the road is getting narrow by the day. Narrow and narrow by the day. We don't know for how long enough space they have to keep kicking that can down the alleyway. But it's narrowing.
Okay.
You'll catch up with them.
Are you part of that group of, or rather clique of Kenyans who believe that it's just a matter of time we'll still find ourselves in the same kind of dungeon that we've...
Of course. Anybody who understands the economics will tell you the fundamentals will lead you to the same state where you are.
Okay.
There is no change. And I want Kenyans to hold me accountable for this. Tomorrow is more painful than today. Today was more painful than yesterday. That is my mantra. With Kenya Kwanza, you are guaranteed that tomorrow is going to be more painful than today is, and today is more painful than yesterday was.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it from Wakili Willis Otieno here, definitely weighing in on the kind of conversation that the president had. Of course, the president is saying that the economy is stable due to the painful decisions that he decided to make. And of course, taking the Eurobond being one of the things that we've actually discussed here. Kindly weigh in on this conversation and tell us what you actually think about the economic trajectory that the country is in at this particular moment. Otherwise, if at all you're watching us for the first time, kindly subscribe to this channel here. And of course, stay tuned to some of our programs that will be coming up next. We always have Jadel Kabiro here, Richard Mwenja, as well as Professor Herman Manyora. And of course, Wakili Willis Otieno is also part of this family, and we'll be glad to bring you up to date with comprehensive analysis of everything that is taking place in this country and across the borders. Till we have this conversation again, have yourself a lovely day. My name is Evans. Okay.